Live from Citizen TV, this is Tonight with Sam Gituku.
Thank you for choosing Citizen TV on this 20th day of November 2024. And tonight on Data Point, we're telling you about what has been in the law, the NSSF Act of 2013, of deductions of up to 6% from the employee and a similar amount to be contributed by the employer. So there will be some changes coming or taking effect early next year. You're talking about the 6% contribution. So what is going to happen early next is that the limit is changing from 36,000 to 72,000. What does that mean? That for a person making a living out of employment income, 72,000 will be charged 6% of NSSF contribution, and that is what to be submitted or remitted by the employers to the NSSF fund itself, but also the employers will have to match it. Now, what that means is currently, you know that the maximum contribution per employee is 2,160. It will rise to 4,320 come next year, around February 2025. We'll be telling you about that and more on Data Point. Be sure to catch that as we analyze even some model pay slips this evening. But also tonight we have the News Gang. We'll be walking around the journey of labor in this country, walking from the people that have been facing challenges in the labor sector, from strikes that we've seen, return to work formula, but also what has become the politics of the week. Stay tuned for that. But first, here are the top stories tonight. Running for dear life, mourners, among them former Deputy President Gachagua, scamper for safety as goons unleash terror at funeral in Limuru.
They have 1 week to comply. Otherwise, they know what to do. They can make use of the door.
You have 1 week to comply. President Ruto puts on notice 34 CEOs over e-citizen compliance.
Very soon you shall hear us celebrate. We have moved, but we want to move on record.
No longer boarding. Karua officially parts ways with Raila as now Kenya exits Azimio coalition.
The purpose is to stop his bid by hook or crook. This is what our country has become.
Outrage over the arrest of Benson Detta, the chairman of Savannah Clinker. Good evening. Our sign language interpreter is Njoki Shege. Tonight we begin with chaos and destruction in Limuru, Kiambu County, where former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua was forced to scamper for safety. Goons stormed the burial ceremony, hurling chairs and stones towards Gachagua, sending mourners fleeing in all directions. The attackers went on to vandalize vehicles belonging to Gachagua and other dignitaries, smashing windows and destroying seats used for the event. Several people sustained injuries during the melee, as Melita Oletenges now reports.
Everybody for himself and God for us all. Former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua and his allies scrambled for safety, scattering in all directions as chairs and stones rained down in a sudden storm of violence. Goons charged fiercely, forcing vehicles carrying the politicians to speed off under a barrage of stones and broken chairs. In seconds, tents were brought down, hundreds of chairs lay shattered, and what began as a solemn burial ceremony dissolved into utter mayhem, a battlefield of chaos and destruction.
Na venye tumeona hao wakora walikuwa wana target kwenye Rigathi Gachagua meketi, ile gari Rigathi Gachagua walikuwa naenda ndani yake, walikuwa wanamtarget yeye mwenyewe, nao sio wananchi wa hapa.
Mourners ran helter-skelter amid the chaos. Some found themselves caught in the fray, nursing injuries as the violent storm of chairs and stones raged.
Mimi nilikuwa nimesimama, hata sijui niligongwa na nini. Niliona mawe inaenda juu, nafikiri niligongwa na mawe, nikaanguka chini.
Chaos erupted during the burial when goons stormed the ceremony, determined to stop former Limuru MP Peter Mwathi mid-speech and disrupt other leaders from addressing mourners. Sitting MP John Kiragu and a supporter of President William Ruto conspicuously avoided the VIP tent, choosing instead to sit among the common wananchi. Locals speculated his actions were calculated, hinting he might have anticipated the commotion.
Amekuja akakataa kiti ya VIP. Amekaa kwa kiti ambayo hastahili kukaa. Tukawa suspicious, tukajua hapa si pazuri.
However, MP John Kiragu denied any involvement, insisting he was also a victim of the chaos.
Ningekuwa mtu wa kuvuruga, si basi ningejua vile nitajikinga. Mimi napigwa, alafu watu yangu wamepigwa, gari yangu imepigwa.
Locals, however, were not convinced, alleging the disruption was a calculated move aimed at undermining former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagwa's growing influence in the Mount Kenya region. Gachagua and his allies have pointed fingers at the government for orchestrating the violence. Through a tweet on X, Gachagua showed the extent of the damage to one of his vehicles and stated, "This is a very sad state of affairs and a major low for the state, who are clearly complicit in these actions. We will not be scared away from standing with Kenyans who need us to support them in their moments of need." End of quote. Melita Oletenges, Citizen TV.
And connected to that, these our members of parliament and leaders allied to the former deputy president are now at the DCI headquarters, where our political affairs reporter Emmanuel Toh is standing by. Emmanuel, good evening. What can you tell us with the leaders that are behind you?
Well, thank you very much, Sam. Definitely we are here at the DCI headquarters, and these members of parliament are here to ask for what they call habeas corpus of one of their members, the former member of parliament for Limuru, Peter Mwathi, whom they say was abducted by the police. And we're here to get some comments from them. I just want to speak to them quickly. Member of parliament or the senator for Kiambu, Karungo Adhangwa, what are you doing here, and have you been able to report the incident here at the DCI?
Thank you very much. We came here at the DCI for two things only. One is to demand for quick and swift investigation of what transpired today at a constituency, where an attempt on the life of the Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua was carried out by hired goons by the government, because we truly believe it was a well-planned incident. And the reason why we're saying that is because there were some 200 to 300 goons from different areas of this country, not necessarily from Limuru, that attacked the Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua. And we also came here because we wanted to find the whereabouts of the former MP for Limuru, Peter Mwathi, because he was abducted by men in Subaru. And we know DCI, they do that. So we came here to find where they took him. Okay. We have not been given any information. They actually never listened to us. The director of investigation, by some name he gave us, Abdul or Abdallah, he told us that he cannot listen to us and walked away. So we are here to say that it was an attempt assassination of Rigathi Gachagua, and this is being done in Mount Kenya only. They started with the peace caravans, and there is peace, but when they realize there is peace, they have decided to come out with goons to interrupt events, to harm people, so that there is no peace in Mount Kenya, so that then they can come with their peace caravans trying to introduce some of those leaders that they want to introduce to us.
Thank you, Senator. Let me speak to another senator here, Senator from Nyandarua, John Methu. How is the Deputy President, the former Deputy President? Is he okay?
I will not say that he's okay, because I think stones were thrown into his car. In fact, I would say that Rigathi Gachagua is lucky to be alive today. From the events of what we've seen today, the attempt on his assassination was actually a live attempt. If you look at the young men who followed him to his vehicle, had he not been evacuated using the right hand of the back seat, had he sat on the ordinary left side of his car, he certainly would have been hurt badly. I'm sure he's still at home. I've started talking to him, and you can actually feel that he's not very okay. But what I would want to say is that if those people who are doing these things want to test our resolve, we are extremely determined to speak for our people, to speak for our nation. Finally, The wife of the member of parliament, former member of parliament for Limuru is here at night. We have not even been given audience by the DCI so that they can tell us exactly what or where is Honorable Mwadhi. She goes home to sleep without knowing exactly where the husband is. The kids are here. They have not had peace. It is this kind of absurdities that if you attend a funeral is as a very solemn occasion. He has been attending because he has been serving those members of those people of Limuru for the last 2 terms. We would want to know where his whereabouts.
Okay, thank you so much. Can we speak to the mom? Just a word. What are you saying? What are you telling the government or anybody who is watching this?
Mine is just to ask the government to release my husband because he went for a funeral. He has attended many other funerals in Limuru. He has served the people of Limuru diligently. And he was abducted by force because the vehicle he had gotten into so that he gets out of the chaos was sandwiched by 2 Subarus that had no number plates. So definitely that's the government. So may the government release my husband.
What's your name?
My name is Dr. Anne Mungai.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Well, Sam, that is what is happening here at the DCI. They're asking for the whereabouts of the former member of parliament for Limuru after the melee and the chaos that erupted a few hours ago in Limuru. So that is what we have from here at the DCI. We'll be following up this for more details in our subsequent bulletins tomorrow. But that is what we have from here. Thank you so much. Over to you, Sam.
All right. Thank you so much, Emmanuel Toy. And of course, a very important image that we see there of what appears bandaged hand and leg. Of course, we cannot authenticate the situation that gentleman is going through. But that is Emmanuel Toy joining us from the DCI. Of course, we understand that the members of parliament represented there and the spouse of the former MP are waiting for answers of the whereabouts of former MP Peter Mwadhi. We'll pursue that story for you. But in the meantime, President William Ruto has tonight issued a one-week ultimatum to 34 heads of government agencies to migrate to the e-Citizen platform or face the sack. While marking the first anniversary of the relaunched e-Citizen platform, the president accused state agencies that include Kenya Power, Independent Policing Oversight Authority and the Energy Sector Regulator, EPRA, of intentionally undermining transparency in public service delivery by engaging in backdoor dealings. Seth Olale reports.
Reform or resign. President William Ruto's firm warning to 34 heads of governmental agencies that are yet to migrate to the e-Citizen platform.
They have 1 week to comply. They have 1 week to comply. Otherwise, they know what to do. They can make use of the door. It's as simple as that.
The Kenya Ports Authority, Kenya Power, Independent Policing Oversight Authority, and EPRA being among those blacklisted by the presidency for undermining the fight against corruption in the public service.
I know those people are listening to me, the people who still want to play games, and I want to tell them there will be no escape.
Other than those blacklisted, the head of state called out a section of state departments enrolled on the e-Citizen platform, but still engage in external transactions with financial institutions.
But once in a while, they retreat to go and pay or use alternative means of payments, including games with some banks.
The president accused some public servants of being an impediment in the fight against graft through the refusal of eliminating bureaucracy and bribery in public service.
There cannot be another route. We want a place where the public can know this is the portal where their money is coming. We can follow up on revenues for every public entity.
NTSA emerged as the all-time highest transaction entity on the e-Citizen platform, with 84-year-old Esther Mwangi Gathoni clinching the personal award category.
Delivering citizen services to Kenyans through technology has been a challenging yet rewarding journey.
Nice citizen, be less stress, be less stress.
Even Even as President William Ruto admits that work is clearly cut out for his administration in ensuring 100% government service delivery, he also says that those acting as stumbling blocks by preventing transparency will be dealt with. Seth Olale, Citizen TV at the KICC, Nairobi County.
The Independent Electoral Boundaries Commission, IEBC, now says the courts are delaying the process of reconstituting the electoral body, citing two matters, one still pending at the Supreme Court and another at the Kiambu High Court. IEBC Chief Executive Officer Marjan Hussein Marjan said the commission's hands are tied on whether or not it can conduct pending by-elections and oversee the delimitation of boundaries, which is 8 months late. Emmanuel Toh reports.
Responding to questions raised by Kenyans on when the electoral body will be in place to conduct pending by-elections and the long overdue delimitation of boundaries, the IEBC executive fumbled on the answers. Appearing before the Public Petitions Committee, the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission CEO Marjan Hussein Marjan threw the ball in the judiciary's court, pointing to a constitutional crisis ostensibly contributed by the two petitions in court that have led to a paralysis in the commission for nearly 2 years. Marjan stating that the commission was still standing by for an advisory sought from the Supreme Court in July on whether or not they can conduct by-elections and the delimitation of boundaries, which should have been concluded by March this year.
The matter is still pending before the Supreme Court. If the Supreme Court renders its guidelines now and say, for example, we are able to do it as Secretariat, then we can go ahead and do it. But also there's a question of who can also extend the timelines now that the timelines are already over.
Apart from the pending Supreme Court verdict, another court battle at the Kiambu High Court, pitting one Boniface Njogu against Parliament, has thrown another spanner in the works after he filed a complaint challenging the constitution of the IEBC selection panel, saying it lacked the representation of the persons living with disability. In court papers filed last month, the Kiambu High Court Judge Dora Chepkwony gave orders barring the Speaker of the National Assembly, Moses Wetangula, from passing the names of the selection panel to the President until the matter is heard and determined.
The Commission recommends that the process of recruitment of commissioners be fast-tracked to enable the Commission discharge its constitutional mandate.
The Commission lamenting over the pending by-elections in 11 electoral units, including Banisa, Magarini and Ugunja constituencies, and several other wards that have been without representation for more than a year now. The delay causing an uproar in Parliament as the House leaders called for the speedy reconstitution of the Commission.
Kwa hivyo anayeweza kutusaidia katika shida hii ni Jaji Mkuu, sababu yeye peke yake ndiye anaongoza mahakama zetu. Yeye ndiye anaweza kuambia wakumbuke kwamba IEBC ni institution ya maana sana katika taifa, na si vizuri kesi ile kuchukua muda kiasi ile ambaye imechukua.
Sehemu kama yangu mimi ninaotoka ya Kilifi ule Magarini sasa mpaka sasa wamemaliza miezi karibu mingapi sasa hawajapata mwakilishi bunge.
Article 89(2) of the Constitution requires the IEBC to review the names and boundaries of the constituencies and wards at intervals of not less than 8 years and not more than 12 years. These must be completed 12 months before the general election. IEBC also cleared the air that there will not be any change to the presidential election transmission process, dismissing claims that there are plans to curtail the same through the Election Amendment Bill of 2024.
So, as things stand, the presidential election results of 2027, or whichever time that the presidential elections is conducted, will be transmitted.
Emmanuel Toh, Citizen TV, Nairobi.
The NARC Kenya party now says it has completed the process of exiting the Azimio coalition. During the party's National Delegates Conference, NARC Kenya leader Martha Karua says the party is now charting its own path and will be undergoing a rebranding ahead of the 2027 general election. Stephen Leto reports.
After months of frosty relations within the Azimio One Kenya coalition, NARC Kenya party has formally withdrawn from the coalition. The party that held its National Delegates Convention Thursday resolved that their continued stay in Azimio is no longer tenable.
When Azimio's purpose changed, through its leadership, who are also the majority in the coalition, NARC Kenya SAD deliberated and exited. The 90 days are over. We are going to remind the registrar of political parties. Very soon you shall hear us celebrate. We have moved, but we want to move on record that we are no longer in the Azimio coalition.
The NARC Kenya party had written to the registrar of political parties as per the Azimio coalition exit clause that requires a 90-day exit notice, which the Karua-led party says it has met. NARC party leader Martha Karua says after the exit, the party will now begin shopping for new coalition partners that seek to defeat President Ruto in 2027.
NARC Kenya has taken legal steps to exit from a coalition entered into in the last general elections. So if you're asking whether NARC Kenya can come together with others for the sake of the nation, we have in the past. And we will in the future. We will do so more carefully with lessons learned.
But before the new partners come in, the party will be rebranded and a new campaign machinery assembled.
NARC Kenya is rebranding. NARC Kenya is changing its name. We are changing party colors, but we are waiting for the process at the registrar of political parties to come to a close. But today, these national delegates have given the national executive permission to go ahead with the rebranding exercise.
The NARC Kenya party says it is going to mount a strong opposition against the Kenya Kwanza administration going forward. Stephen Letos, Citizen TV.
Now, in a bid to forestall looming doctor strike, Medical Services Principal Secretary Harry Kimtai has called on the Kenya Medical Practitioners and Dentists Union, KMPDU, to allow intern doctors resume work and accept the offer by government to pay them 70,000 shillings a month. Appearing before the Public Accounts Committee on Thursday, Kimtai was under fire to explain why the ministry is yet to honor the return to work formula signed in May that ended a 56-day strike. The union had accused the government of failing to honor their end of the bargain, leading to cases of medics taking their life out of frustration. Laura Otieno has the details.
4 hours after the KMPDU threatened to sanction yet another nationwide strike in the coming days, Medical Services PS Harry Kimtai was at pains to explain how the government will avert the looming strike. This comes on the first day of the strike by intern doctors following financial frustrations that led to the death by suicide of one intern doctor earlier this week.
What stops you, irrespective of the negotiation, from wiring that 70,000 to the interns anyway in the meantime?
Once we agree, or once an issue is determined and we go back to the figure of 206,000, then we shall top up. I think that's where the unions are holding us and say, don't pay the interns. If you look at it, the interns are right now in their stations, their training stations or training centers with no pay.
Kimtai further saying that the government has committed to allocate a total of 3.4 billion shillings to be paid in 2 tranches to settle the arrears should both parties agree to the 206,000 shillings monthly payment.
We have called upon the unions to let us pay the 70,000 to the interns to alleviate the suffering of the interns. But there are those who do not have any contentions, especially the clinical officers and the nursing. So it's only the pharmacists, the pharmacists, the doctors, the MOH doctors who have not accepted.
Among the grounds signed for in the return to work formula between KMPDU and the Ministry of Health dated May included the posting of 1,210 medical interns. However, the interns have been surviving with no pay as both parties lock horns on how much interns ought to be paid during negotiations of the full implementation of a 2017 collective bargaining agreement. Laura Otieno, Citizen TV.
Now, more than 20 families in Port Reitz, Changamwe in Mombasa County will spend the night in the cold after their houses were demolished by goons hired by a private developer. The affected families claim they were not served eviction notices and that the dispute over the land is still unresolved in court. Francis Mtalaki reports.
This is one of the houses that were demolished by a group of hired goons Wednesday evening. According to the affected families, the goons were hired by a private developer who claims ownership of the 1.8-acre prime piece of land. The youth are said to have destroyed more than 20 houses on the contested land.
Mimi mwenyewe niko hapa na sijui kulala wenyewe, niko na watoto sijui nitawalalisha wapi. Na teseka kutoka jana kwa kupika kwenyewe ni shida. Kwa sababu kutoka juzi watu hawalali, ni ile wanakuja bomoa hii nyumba. Mtu ananunuliwa na shilingi 1,000, yuambiwa bomoa hii nyumba, ondoa mabati.
Hajakuja na title deed, hajakuja na search, hajakuja na map. Ametumia muongozo gani kuweka alama hapa? Kule mahakamani hakutoa mother title, hajatoa title deed. Ametoa kiji grant ya kuoneshana anashikilia kwa niaba. Unaona? Sasa sisi hapa tunajua ni nguvu ya pesa imefanya kazi.
Tumeona paka mmoja hapa amesimamia tu, vunja na ile, njoo anakufuata, su wewe uvunje tu tubebewe vitu vyako kama unaenda Mariakani uende. Sasa nikasema wewe ndo wakutetea kwa roho, nasema wewe ndo wakututetea ama wewe ndo mtu wenye unafaa kumwambia tuvunje.
Residents were caught unawares as they watched helplessly as their houses were brought down with no time to salvage their belongings.
Kama kuna msaada wote tunaweza pata kwa serikali, tuweze kusaidika kwa sababu sasa hatuna la kufanya. Unavoangalia hapa kuna wamama na watoto wao wadogo, kuna wengine ni wagonjwa hata kwa hizi manyumba, na unaambiwa ubomoe nyumba yako. Si eti wewe mwenyewe kwa hiari, wanachukua vijana kutoka huku wanalipwa ili wakubomolee nyumba yako. Hawataki kujua nyumba yako iko na nini wala mali kiasi gani ndani. Nia yao tu ni nyumba ibomolewe, wewe ukose la kufanya. Manake wanaelewa sisi ni watu tulio wanyonga, hatuna uwezo zaidi ya kuweza kujisaidia.
Umeambiwa wewe toka, umepewa shilingi 1,000. Kuna nyumba yenye uweza enda kukodisha 1,000 jamani? Hakuna. Kila nyumba sasa ni 3,000, 3,500. Na kuna deposit hapo. Tutafanyaje sasa hii? Mimi mwenyewe nateseka sasa na watoto kupika mwenyewe, jua la waka juu, mabati yameng'olewa, huna mahali kwa kuwalalisha, na sasa kuna baridi na watoto wadogo.
They claim tycoons have been eyeing the said piece of land that sits next to the port of Mombasa and now want the National Land Commission to intervene as the ownership wrangles continue. Francis Mtalaki, Citizen TV, Mombasa.
So that story, we're taking a short break here. There's still so much to cover in the news and so much more later on the News Gang. But all right, welcome back. You're still watching Tonight, and it's time for Data Point. We want to pay some special focus because since last year, something has been changing in this country, and it's just about to change again come next year in February. That is NSSF contributions. Let's first, just to remind you what has been happening, is that in 2023, when that rate changed, in the Tier 1, it meant that the maximum contribution for that level was going to be 6,000, which means that 6% of this is what would go to the NSSF. In the same year, a maximum of 18,000. So you take 18,000 minus 6,000, which is 12,000 shillings. That is what would go, a percentage of that, which is 6% of that, is what would go additionally to NSSF, or if the employer wants, can take it to a different arrangement where there's a registered pension program. Now in 2024, the year that we are in, that changed, and in Tier 1 the maximum is 7,000 and on Tier 2 is up to 36,000. Now in 2025, the amount that will be subjected to NSSF contribution in Tier 1 will be 8,000. In Tier 2 will be 72,000. In the year that will come, that is 2026, it will again go up. In Tier 1, it will be 9,000. And in Tier 2, the maximum will be 108,000 shillings. I'll be explaining what that exactly means because the employer is also expected to match the contribution of every employee. Let's take a look at that, which is to say that if at the moment this is the maximum contribution that has been coming from employees, the lower limit of 7,000, subject that to 6%, comes to 420 shillings. The upper limit of 36,000, but remember you've already taken care of 7,000, so the difference is 29,000. Subject that to 6%, it gives you 1,720, which is a total of 36,000, being subjected to 6%, giving you 2,160. So at the moment, the maximum contribution for any employee in the country has been 2,160 shillings every month, the same matched by the employer. So meaning that in total, 4,320 has been contributed for every employee in the country at maximum. Now, in 2025, that will change. I told you that the lower limit will change to 8,000 from 7,000. So subject that to 6%, will give you 480,000. If you subject now the upper limit of 72,000 minus 8,000 gives you 64,000. So subject that to 6%, it gives you 3,840. In total, 72,000 worth of salary is being subjected for NSSF contributions, which will be 4,320. This is important because you're moving again from the maximum of 2,160 to 4,320. The same will be paid for the employee by the employer. Let's take a look at something else that you need to know. And this is what will happen in the year to come, 2026, after next year. The lower limit, 9,000. Subject that to 6%, gives you 540. The upper limit will rise to 108,000, meaning the difference will be 99,000, which is 108,000 minus 9,000. Subject that to 6% will be 5,940. Again, the total contribution that year will be 6,480, plus a similar contribution from the employer that will go to the NSSF, or if the employer has opted for a registered pension fund, then the second contribution of 5,940 can be taken there. Let's take a look at something else that you need to know. And we are looking at an example of someone earning a salary of 50,000 shillings. What is going to happen next year? The lower limit again, 8,000, deduction of 480. The upper limit, of course, 72,000, but this person only earns 50,000 maximum. So 50,000 minus 8,000 is 42,000. Subject that to 6% gives you 2,420, and therefore the contribution for this employee come February 2025 will be 3,000 shillings, up from 2,160. These are your savings. The employer also will have to make a similar contribution, raising it to 6,000 in total. Let's take a look at someone earning a salary of, say, 40,000 shillings. The lower limit, again, remains the same, 480 shillings. Now, the difference between 40,000 and 8,000 is 32,000. Subject that to 6%, gives you 2,520, and this should give you a total, no, there's a problem here, because 32%, or rather, that should be the total is correct, which is 2,400. There's just a problem there that you're going to correct. But again, it is an increase from 2,160. So you need to know that. Again, the employer is going to match that contribution of 2,400. Now, for someone earning 80,000 shillings, we need to take note of this. So the lower limit is 8,000. Again, that's 480 shillings. The upper limit is 72,000, but this person earns 80,000 shillings. So the only thing that you can take care of is the difference of 72,000 and 8,000, which is 64,000, giving you the maximum contribution of 4,320 shillings. So for next year, that would be the match that this employee will contribute. But come 2026, remember I told you that the upper limit is going to change to 108,000, so that person will contribute 4,800 shillings. Double that from the employer, that will give you 9,600 shillings that will go towards the pension contribution, either to the NSSF or again split it between NSSF and a pension fund, a registered pension fund service, which can be found in the country. And that's how it's looking on data point. Again, let's just do some bit of calculation because you need also to look at the impact. In October 2022, with NSSF, which was 200 shillings, there was no housing levy. The NHF was 1,200. The pay was 7,143. This person earning 50,000 took home for 1,456. October, which is last month, they took home 39,000 because of the contribution for NSSF having risen to 2160 maximum, 750 being the housing levy, and shift contribution having increased to 1,375. Now, if things go as per plan of the government, meaning There's already some tax laws amendment bill that is before the House that is also proposing that the housing levy contribution and the shift contribution should be allowable deduction, meaning before you are taxed, you're going to deduct the NSSF contribution, the housing levy, and the NHIF or shift contribution. Then if that works, takes effect, and also the NSSF contribution goes to 3,000 shillings, then this person is going to take home 39,029 shillings. It's a slight reduction from 39,092 shillings of the current moment, but if you are to use a higher figure of a salary of, say, 100, you're going to see what that means in terms of the reduction in the earnings or take home of such individuals. That's data point for this week. In the meantime, former Standard Group employees are demanding payment of their salary arrears and SACCO savings. The employees have accused the Standard Group of failing to honor their redundancy and severance pay commitment after laying them off. The staff have threatened to stage protest on Tuesday next week to compel the company to release their dues. The media company CEO Marion Mwangi says the company is committed to paying outstanding dues, as Mary Mwoki now reports.
The former Standard Group employees met outside the group premises along Mombasa Road, a dejected lot and seemingly frustrated by the media house's inability or unwillingness to pay their dues.
And we worked for this great company for years. And I think it is right for us to demand for our payment because we worked for it and we left the company on a good note. And we've been trying to get our money, but we haven't received the money.
We're also standing here as victims. Betrayal by a company we dedicated our lives and careers to building. We are over 400 employees of Standard Group, former, united in anguish and purpose to demand what is rightfully ours. And to the government of Kenya, it is time to act. We demand immediate payment of all our salary arrears from 2023 to several months of 2024 and all redundancy dues.
The former staff are accusing Standard Group of underhanded tactics to turn them against each other as they accuse the Standard Group CEO of stonewalling their efforts to reach her office to follow up on their dues.
The organization has not communicated. As we are mobilizing to fight for our rights, the organization has also infiltrated our efforts and it's trying to divide us. Some of the leaders who are guiding us here right now, we don't know where they went. And that's just an attempt to try and divide us.
In a statement, Standard Group CEO Marion says the company held a meeting with the affected former staff and agreed, and I quote, to outline our commitment to fulfilling our obligations regarding outstanding dues. Both parties have agreed to establish a working group comprising representatives from both sides to engage directly with the group chief executive officer in order to address the payment delays.
Solidarity forever.
The aggrieved staff have, however, refuted claims of a meeting with any section of them to chart the way forward, nor the establishment of any working group, and have threatened to stage a protest next week on Tuesday to demand for their dues. Mary Mwoki, Citizen TV.
Now, Savannah Clinker chairman Benson Ndeta will spend the night in police custody after he was arrested on allegations of forgery, conspiracy to defraud, uttering false documents on his capacity as Savannah Cement chairman. Ndeta's arrest is in connection to an alleged fraudulent 700 million shilling deal to expand Savannah Cement, a matter that has been under investigation since 2019. The arrest followed the approval of 8 charges against him by the Director of Public Prosecutions. Ndeta's arrest has elicited sharp reactions, with Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka claiming he is being targeted over his bid to acquire Bamburi Cement.
Muthaiga police station on Thursday evening, and opposition politicians pitched tent following the arrest of Savannah Clinker chairman Benson Ndeta. Ndeta, who has interest in cement industry in the country, was arrested in Valley Arcade before being transferred to DCI headquarters, where he was questioned, then booked at Muthaiga police station. Reports indicate that Ndeta was arrested over allegations of a 700 million shillings fraud at Savannah Cement. It all started back in 2019 when two directors of Savannah Cement, Donald Kiboro and John Gachanja, reported that the company chairman Benson Ndeta and other outgoing directors fraudulently made an extract of the board meeting and transferred 4,500 shares to Seruji Limited. In November 2017, Kiboro transferred 300 of his shares in Savannah Heights to Falcon Venture Holdings LLC, represented by Charles Hills Jr., for a consideration of 700 million shillings. However, Kiboro claims the purchaser defaulted in payment and the share sale fell through, and so there was no transfer of shares in favor of Hills Jr. It is alleged that Ndeta and Charles Hills Jr. used forged documents to secure a loan of $35 million for financing of Savannah Cement Factory's expansion project. Hills Jr. in the papers had allegedly represented himself as a director of Savannah Heights, a major shareholder in Savannah Cement, to facilitate the scheme, yet he had not acquired the company shares, a matter that has been under investigations by the DCI, who have been cleared to arrest and charge Ndeta and Hills Jr. The Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions directed the two to be charged with the offences of conspiracy to commit a felony, conspiracy to defraud, forgery, making a document without authority, obtaining execution of a security by false pretenses, obtaining registration by false pretenses, obtaining credit by false pretenses, and uttering false documents. The ODPP also want a warrant of arrest issued and an extradition request to be made to the government of the United States to surrender Charles Hills Jr. to face charges in Kenya. Ndeta's arrest, which comes just a week before the close of a bid to take over Bamburi Cement, where he is competing with Tanzanian conglomerate Amson's Group, has sparked outrage with opposition leaders, claiming it is a plot to edge him out of the deal.
His bid is the lowest, or is it the highest? The highest. He has won the tender. People pretending there's a Tanzanian company, which is the second lowest. Those people, we will be exposing them as we go ahead. We don't want to expose them right now, because this is not the way to do business.
Musyoka says they are going to challenge Ndeta's alleged political persecution in court.
We will be moving to court to defend the interests of this country. And we're demanding immediate release of Mr. Benson Ndeta.
The businessman is expected to be arraigned Friday. Gatete Njoroge, Citizen TV, Nairobi.
Now, the Sambaza Furaha and Safaricom caravan continued brightening the faces of Kenyans across the Nyanza region, bringing joy, love and smiles to local residents. Those who turned up at the caravan stopovers left with a variety of gifts, including smartphones, goats, chicken, among others. In partnership with the Royal Media Services, the caravan made 5 stops, including Ahero and Oyugis. Ben Kirui was there.
As the caravan traversed the Nyanza region, its impact grew stronger, leaving behind a trail of happiness and contentment. Communities across the region warmly received the caravan, giving Safaricom representatives and Royal Media Services presenters an enthusiastic reception at every stop. The positive response has been overwhelming, with residents expressing their appreciation through heartfelt smiles and gratitude.
Nimeshukuru zaidi kwa Safaricom vile mmetutembelea, tumefurahi na mimi nimefurahi zaidi juu nimepata Christmas ya kuku na nimefurahi kabisa kwa moyo.
In return, Safaricom delightedly rewarded participants with a variety of gifts, leaving them not only with full hearts but also with early Christmas cheer.
Hii mbuzi taenda kufuga nikiamuka asubuhi, nimefikiria naye Safaricom.
The campaign, now in its fourth leg, is part of Safaricom's celebration for its 24th anniversary, reaffirming the company's dedication to rewarding loyal customers.
I'm very excited because we are here to spread the joy and to celebrate and appreciate our customers for being with us for the last 24 years.
Without them, we cannot be celebrating 24 years. It is because of them that we can stand today and celebrate, and they have come out in numbers.
Popular Royal Media Services presenters from Radio Citizen, Ramogi Radio, and Ramogi TV engaged fans, sharing moments and giving away prizes.
Kwa hivyo ushirikiano kando na kuleta zawadi na Krismasi inakuja mapema, inaonyesha kwamba ushirikiano kama huu ni ushirikiano ambao unahitajika hata zaidi ili kuwezesha kwamba mashabiki wetu na wateja wa Safaricom wote wanatuzwa.
Thursday, the caravan covered key towns including Ahero, Katito, Sondu, Chabera, and Oyugis. On Friday, the journey continues to Kendu Bay, Homa Bay, Migori, and other areas, spreading even more joy and holiday spirit. Ben Kiroi, Citizen TV, Oyugis, Homa Bay County.
Interesting. Now, the county government of Nakuru is tonight on the spot of allegations of exhuming bodies from the Nakuru South Cemetery to create space for more bodies to be buried at the grounds. A spot check at the South Cemetery on Thursday afternoon revealed hollow graves, some scattered skeletons, and decomposed human remains. And as Marian Nyambura now reports, the county government of Nakuru, in a statement, denied the exhumation allegations, claiming that it's mandated to do regular maintenance of the graveyard.
Horror scenes at the South Cemetery in Nakuru Town West. Old graves have been dug by about 2 feet deep. Beneath, however, a coffin lid is visible. Residents stumbled on a human skeleton. They say the county government of Nakuru embarked on exhuming bodies on Monday night in order to create space for families to bury their loved ones.
Tunaona kuna vichwa za watoto, mafupa hivi, sio mbwa zinakufa huku. Hii ni kama wanachimbua hivi. Ukiangalia pande zote unaona hii sio haki. Juu mwili ilikuwa inafaa ibaki pale kwa mchanga ioze ikuishe.
Hii kaburi ilikuwa imeshafukiwa watu zamani, lakini ikajaa. Sasa wanarudia kuweka wafu wengine.
A video making rounds on social media captured on Monday, showing human skeletons are stashed in a sack. The residents say the standard grave depth of 6 feet under no longer applies at the South Cemetery. Graves here are 2 or 4 feet deep.
Ningependa watenge mahali pengine. Kenya ni kubwa. Sasa kwa sababu katika imani ya Waafrika sio vizuri kufukua miili ama kurudia. Ningependelea kuna nafasi kubwa huku hivi, badala ya mashamba watu kanzo ingechukua alafu ikanunua na ikaweza kuweka wafu wao hapo.
Nakuru County Health Services CEC Roslyn Mungai, in a statement sent to newsrooms, refuted the claims saying, quote, "The county government of Nakuru has not authorized nor conducted any exhumations at the South Cemetery. The county government ensures regular maintenance of Nakuru South Cemetery to uphold its dignity and facilitate visits by families. No graves or remains have been tampered with during these processes." End of quote. Marian Nyambura, Citizen TV.
In business, as the public participation window for Kenyans to share their views on the tax laws and the Tax Procedures Act amendments closes, the Kenya Association of Air Operators has urged the government to align tax policies with international recommendations, such as those from the International Civil Aviation Organization and regional benchmarks under the East African Common External Tariff. The operators, in their memorandum to the Committee of the National Assembly, warned that new taxes, if not well thought out, could jeopardize Kenya's position as the region's aviation hub. Jimmy Mbogo reports.
The presentation by the Kenya Association of Air Operators, the national umbrella body and unified voice of advocacy for Kenyan aviation industry, sought to shed light on the far-reaching consequences of some of the proposed tax changes. The air operators warning that the changes will lead to an increased operational cost. For instance, the imposition of a 16% VAT on imported aircraft spare parts and related services will significantly increase operational expenses. Further, higher acquisition costs will hinder fleet expansion and upgrades, undermining Kenya's competitiveness. They warn that the proposed removal of VAT exemption could claw back sector gains, saying that those exemptions led to increased registration of aircraft, growth in passenger and cargo numbers. The negative effects will go beyond operational issues and stifle investment and innovation in aerospace technology in the country, increase air travel costs that will in turn stifle tourism, trade and investment. Moreover, the association warns that the sector's contribution to GDP will be negatively impacted, declining from its current contribution of approximately 208 billion shillings, impacting the sector's ability to create employment. Currently, the aviation sector contributes 26,000 jobs directly, with an additional 104,000 jobs indirectly supported by other sectors. At the same time, the air operators have applauded President William Ruto's decision to terminate the Adani deal. According to the association, the privately initiated proposal, PIP, for the concession of the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport, JKIA, was marred by concerns of transparency and inclusivity. Jimmy Mbogo, Citizen TV, Nairobi.
Now, NCBA Group PLC has reported a profit after tax of 15.1 billion shillings for the third quarter of 2024, reflecting a 3% growth compared to the same period last year of 14.6 billion shillings. The bank attributes this to improved credit management and diversification of its earnings. Raf Wangotosi has the details.
For the period ending September 30th, 2024, NCBA Group's total assets remained stable at 679 billion shillings. Operating income edged up slightly by 0.6% to reach 46.9 billion shillings, supported by a slight increase in digital loans disbursed, totaling 751 billion shillings with an 8% year-on-year growth. The group also benefited from a significant 32.8% reduction in credit loss provisions, amounting to 4.1 billion shillings, reflecting improved asset quality and effective credit management. During the same period, NCBA's regional subsidiaries in Uganda, Tanzania and Rwanda contributed 2.4 billion shillings to the group's profit before tax, demonstrating the impact of its regional expansion strategy. The group expanded its branch network to 116 locations, with new openings in Kenya and Rwanda to increase customer reach. Additionally, NCBA disbursed mobile loans amounting to 751 billion shillings through partnerships with telcos, extending financial inclusion to over 60 million customers across sub-Saharan Africa. Raf Wangotosi, Citizen TV.
Now, the Kenya Electricity Generating Company, KenGen, has recorded major progress in its 250 million shilling geothermal development contract with the state-owned Eswatini Electricity Company. The contract, awarded earlier this year, tasks KenGen with conducting comprehensive geoscientific studies to assess geothermal potential in 3 prospective regions of the southern African country, Eswatini, that is Eswatini. Speaking during the company's 72nd annual general meeting earlier today, KenGen's MD and CEO, Engineer Peter Jenga, has reaffirmed the company's dedication to advancing renewable energy solutions across Africa.
Our strategic focus going forward is on expanding our footprint beyond Kenya and leveraging our geothermal expertise to foster sustainable development across the continent. A key initiative in this line includes one of our latest geothermal consultancies in Eswatini. This partnership marks another significant step in our mission to support Africa's renewable energy ambitions and mitigate the effects of climate change.
In our ongoing campaign to grow the company and to ensure maximum return to our shareholders, this year we launched a G2G 2024 to 2034 strategy, a bold 10-year roadmap that focuses on scaling renewable energy capacity, enhancing operational excellence, and unlocking new opportunities for growth. The G2G strategy is aligned with Kenya's national energy goals and positions Kenya as a leader in Africa's green energy transition.
The Northern Corridor Transit and Transport Coordination Authority has sounded the alarm on the health of truck drivers who move cargo from the port of Mombasa to the East African member states along the Northern Corridor. The intergovernmental agency says about 60% of the drivers have health conditions. Speaking in Mombasa, the Executive Secretary, Dr. John Deng, says poor health among more than 3,000 drivers in the corridor is a major red flag for road safety, and urgent interventions are needed to address both economic and social issues. The findings also indicate that the corridor continues to be a critical conduit for transboundary infectious diseases, including Ebola, Marburg, COVID-19, HIV and AIDS, and recently Mpox. The agency is now seeking interventions and policies to support the drivers and communities they interact with along the corridor that serves Kenya, Uganda, South Sudan, Rwanda, Burundi, and the DRC.
In developing these facilities, and our intention is to support them. Member states are developing guidelines and regulations on how these roadside stations should be developed and operated. And the private sector is taking up this very seriously. They are buying land, developing these facilities and operating them as a business, but also supporting the objectives of the corridor.
What we are going to do is, in this engagement, we are going to come up with three things. One is to have some sort of a structured or institutional resemblance on how to handle this. Because health issues, now what happens in Kenya, Kenya reacts alone without a proper institutional setup that coordinates with the authority, other than traditional institutions that have traditional roles. One. Two, we are going to look at transcendence policies. What policies do we have that bring countries together to treat this as a common affair?